إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. And I'm seeing some of our guests, they thought this lecture was going to be in English today, right?
It is.
Sorry, it is. I'm just kidding. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah. We praise Him. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil in our soul and from our sinful deeds. Those who are guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one can misguide them. Those who are not guided by Allah, there is no guide for them. I bear witness that there is no deity, there is no God worthy of worship except God, and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his final servant and messenger. O you who believe, revere Allah as he should be revered, and die not except as Muslim. I'm about to proceed. I'd like to welcome you to the Islamic Society Leading American Muslims today, an organization that was established to conduct dawah, which simply means to invite people to learn about the true and peaceful message of Islam, and later revamped in order to educate and empower those people to come this way. So we create a space, sort of a third space, for people to come wherever they are in their faith journey, without any judgment, without any criticism, without any indictment. We're here to invite, not to indict. So if anybody criticizes you, let me know and I'll beat them up in the parking lot. We don't allow that here. We want everybody to come with a full welcome and the freedom to be who you are, where you are, so that you can be nurtured. We are a family, and we invite you to be a part of our family, to break bread with us once a month. When we have the space, we have a potluck dinner, and we get together and eat. We always glorify God when we get together, every time we get together.
Brother, your email is correct? I don't think so.
My what?
Email address?
No O.
It's no O, it's a mistake.
Yes.
Yes, sorry about that. Yes, all right. I want to share with you, first of all, I want to recognize the people that are here for the first time today. Brendan is not here for the first time because he's come to Interfaith Dinners, but Brendan, we're very happy to have you today. Coming today. Brendan has made one or two trips to Jerusalem. Two trips now to Jerusalem. And so he wanted to come and learn a little bit about Islam, and we're very happy. I've been having a conversation with Brendan. We're very happy to have you. Please feel free to ask any questions that you have along the way. Okay? And I warned him that today's lecture was about the mother of Jesus and Jesus, and sort of our view of that story and Christmas and that kind of thing. And so I prepared him and sort of braced him for that. Anybody else on this side here for the first time? Would you introduce yourself? Welcome. And how did you find out about us? MashaAllah. She's always doing missionary work out there. Alhamdulillah. Bless you. May Allah bless you. And also Malik. I met Malik this week at Starbucks, and we had quite a long conversation. We are so happy to have you with us, brother. We hope that this will be the first of many times that you're with us, inshallah. Would you like to say anything about yourself or anything?
Not at this time, not really.
Okay. He is looking for a wife, by the way. Not to throw you under the bus the first time you're here. Anybody knows any good candidates that'll get to know each other in an Islamic way? I do that to everybody, so don't feel bad. Don't let that run you away, but he is looking for a wife, a good wife. So. We also have Brandon with us, Brandon Cutting, today. We're very happy to have you, Brandon. And he is with my daughter, Camila, who hasn't been with us for a long time because she usually works on the weekends. So I'm very happy to have her with us as well. Anybody else that I missed out that's here for the first time today? Very good. All right. So great. We will not be having a potluck in December. The place that we use at St. Luke's actually is pretty booked because of the Christmas festivities, and we usually have it on the third Saturday night of every month, right? Or is it the 4th? Yeah, so we weren't able to do it. We do collect non-perishable items every week to go to local food pantries, so that's a form of dawa. Unbroken cell phones, if you have one in the bottom drawer on top of the refrigerator in a dirty, dusty bowl, in a drawer stuck somewhere, we take those, we convert them to be used by victims of domestic violence. So we're still collecting those. I think we've donated about 700 at this point.
Pretty close, but they're getting very scarce now, so really check your closets.
Yeah, we have not been getting very many. We used to get lots of them.
Everybody upgraded and everyone.
Yeah. So empty ink and toner cartridges, it's just a way that we raise a little few dollars for dawa, for continuing our calls. I would like to tell you that we did a visual on Friday night regarding the children of Peshawar, Pakistan, that were killed by the Taliban. And we had about 250 people there. And I wish that everybody could have been there. I think it was a very impactful event. We had Wish 2 News there. If you'd like to see the short clip on it, if you go to the Google site or YouTube or whatever it's called, you can just Google Wish 2 News. You see a visual. And I was there, and another friend of ours who is a lady that's in charge of the interfaith work at the Noor Center, who is Catholic. She did the prayer. It was a very impactful event. I wish everybody could have been there. If you want to be on our group, so that you know what we're doing, where we're doing it, if you'll call me soon, or make sure you put it there. We need somebody's looking for a room to rent. There is an Egyptian family of 3. If you'll contact Furiel about that, we're trying to find a room for them. And
now they've just arrived in Orlando.
right, please pray for Sister Asifa. She fell and I believe broke her back. And she's like the mother of our group. She's, I think, almost 80 years old. I call her mommy, so you know what I'm talking about. She usually sits right here. So please be praying for her. And her health, Allah will give her shifa, will give her healing. I also want to share a story with you before I get started today. Hopefully I'll get through this without crying. In April of 2011, Joan and Christy, Canadians, were visiting Orlando. And a man picked them up by the name of Omar, who was a cab driver. And they said, is there anything fun to do in Orlando besides going to Disney? And he said, yes, go to Imam Sykes' class. Now, when you get compared to Disney, that's way out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's way out. So anyway, he would not charge them, and he brought them here to Disney. I mean, to this class. And they came back. Just a second, let me finish.
Omar called me and asked me about the class. I'm the one who brought them to this class.
You brought them to the class?
Yes.
Okay.
He told Omar.
And you told Omar?
I'm a friend of Omar.
Okay, good. All right, so there's more to the story that I don't know.
It's 3 stories.
But the thing is that they've been back twice since then. And what happened was that the time before last when they came, Christy said that I wanted to embrace Islam, but I was too shy. So this week she contacted us, and she was going to do her shahada this morning in the class, but she didn't want to wait, so we did it this week. So she's embraced Islam, and her mother said, if there was a masjid near my house, I too would embrace Islam. So I'm sharing that with you to say that Islam is growing, and small actions that people do in the world are bringing people, or introducing people to this faith, and they are choosing to come. We don't go out and say, if you don't become a Muslim, you're going to go to hell. We don't go out and say, you got to be a Muslim. We don't go out and say, we're the only way. These people came to a class, and now one of them is Muslim, and the other one would like to be. So I want you to understand the gravity of what's going on in terms of people looking at this faith. people finding this faith. The whole temperature has changed. In the colleges where I lecture, when professors introduce me, what they're saying is different than what they used to say many, many years ago when I started doing this. It's amazing. We were in a lecture at Eastern Florida State College recently, and the professor said, we have to examine why is Islam the fastest growing religion in the world. So it's amazing. People are coming to Islam without prodding. They just hear and they come. Yes?
Where are you from?
They're Canadians. And they said that inshallah they are coming back in April again. But I wanted to share with you another thing that happened. The cab driver, when they came, every time after that he would take them wherever they wanted to go and he wouldn't charge them. And he and his wife made a 5-course meal for them. That's dawah, folks. You see, you don't have to be able to know everything about this religion to do dawah. You just have to be a good human being. And that's the greatest witness that you can ever be in life, is just being a good human being. Salam alaikum and welcome. So, I want to let you know that this slide is incorrect. My email address is imamsites, not IO, ma'am. That's what I say to my wife. I always owe you. So, today's lecture is about Hannah, the mother of Miriam, or Mary, as you might know her, and Jesus, and some of the myths behind Christmas. And that's what we'll be talking about today. We're not here to offend you. And before I even get started, even though I will be sharing with you some historical truth, I encourage you as new Muslims to go and eat and break bread with your families for Christmas. One of the biggest mistakes I made 30 years ago when I became a Muslim is I said to my mother, my children will not get Christmas presents and we will not celebrate Christmas. You can be who you are and you don't have to reject other people's faiths. The Quran says, Lekum dinukum waliya din. To you be yours and to me be mine. You have your Christmas and I have mine, but the Islam enjoins us to maintain family ties. And I really believe that that was very painful for my family. I feel it was a rejection for them. And no one had the wisdom to tell me, don't reject your family. So, I think it's very important we accept people where they are. It doesn't mean I'm celebrating something that Christ didn't celebrate because I'm there having dinner with you. So I want to start that. I do celebrate my family. I celebrate every moment that I can be with them. I celebrate my daughter being here today. I'm always happy when my children are with me. Yeah. So in the Quran, Mary's story begins while she is still in her mother's womb. The mother of Mary said, "Oh my Lord, I have vowed to you what is within my womb as a consecration, as a child that will be set apart for your service. Accept this from me. Lo, it is you who are the hearer, the knower." And this is from the 3rd chapter of the Holy Quran, Ali Imran, verse 35. She wanted the baby in her womb to serve only the Creator. But her mindset in the cultural norm of that day was that if my baby is going to serve Allah, it will have to be a male. When Mary was delivered, she said, "Oh my Lord, behold, I am delivered of a female child." She had expected her baby to be a male child who would grow up to be a scholar, a religious leader. However, God had a better plan, and we know that God is the best of planners. The Quran continues, "And God knew best what she brought forth, and no wise is the male like the female. I have named her Miriam, and I commend her and her offspring to thy protection from Satan, the rejected." Miriam literally means maidservant of God. The Quran speaks of Mary, or Miriam in the Arabic, not only as the mother of Jesus, but as a righteous woman in her own right. There is even a chapter of the Quran named for her, which is the 19th chapter of the Holy Quran. There are 2 chapters in the Quran named after women, Miriam and Sheba. Saba, yes, sorry. Sheba in English, Saba in Arabic, right? In the Quran, no woman is given more attention than Mary. Of the Quran's 114 chapters, Mary is among the 8 people who have a chapter named after her. The 3rd chapter is named after her father, Imran. So our faith tradition is rich with the memory and the knowledge of the family of Miriam, the mother of Jesus, alayhi salam. Peace and blessings be upon him, or Isa as we would say. Allah answered Hannah's prayer and accepted Mary. Allah made Mary grow in purity and beauty. She was assigned to the care of a priest named Zacharias. This is interesting considering few women were given this opportunity. So this was the fulfillment of the prophecy that we saw. Every time that Zacharias entered her chamber to see her, he found her supplied with sustenance. He said, "O Mary, whence comes this to you?" She said, "From God. God provides sustenance to whom He pleases without measure." In the authentic hadith, and for those of you who are here for the first time, hadiths are the second source of Islamic knowledge. So for example, our first source is the Quran, which is the holy book in Arabic. And then we have the hadiths, otherwise known in plural as ahadith, which consist of what we call the sunnah. If you ever meet a Muslim and they say, "I only follow the Quran," run from that Muslim, because that's an ignorant Muslim. Because that Muslim doesn't know how to pray. Because the only way you can learn how to pray in Islam is through ahadith. The prayers are not, how to pray is not recorded in the Quran. So that would be an ignorant Muslim, not one that you want to accept as your teacher. In the ahadith, it says that when Zacharias would come into Mary's chamber to visit her, that there would be fruits that were out of season. So for example, the oranges come into season in Florida at what time? The fall and winter. So it would be like you would walk in there in the summer and you'd find an orange. So you would find, and some of the ahadith scholars have said that this fruit was better than any other fruit that you could ever imagine in your life. That in its flavor it had a uniqueness because it was the fruit from God to sustain Miriam. There are amazing stories about this. Upon hearing Mary's answer, Zechariah prayed to his Lord, saying, "Lord, bestow upon me from you a goodly offspring. Verily, you are the hearer of supplication." And there's a great lesson in this, because we should always be praying that God will give us good offspring. Even sometimes when we don't see it. If we see our children going astray, then we always keep praying. We just keep praying, "God, give us good offspring. Make it that they come back to your way and submit to you and surrender to you as servants and slaves of God." Although Zechariah's wife was barren and he was very old, God blesses Zacharias and his wife Elizabeth with John. And John in Arabic is Yahya. Okay? John is known as John the Baptist in the Bible. Zacharias was skeptical after the angels announced John's birth. The response to his skepticism was, "Doth God accomplish what He willeth?" In Ali Imran, chapter 3 and verse 40, Yahya would become a noble and chaste prophet, as the angels had stated. And actually, there's a lot of, in the Surah al-Baqarah, which we've been doing the tafsir of, there's a lot of talk about the angel Jibreel and the greatness of the angel Jibreel, because the angel Jibreel was actually the teacher of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he delivered to him sunnahs that were from Allah. So if you read a sunnah that says Allah said, this form of sunnah, And then, of course, the angel Gabriel, over a 23-year period of time, delivered the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad. So here again, we see the great works of angel Gabriel. And for those of you who missed that great speech in Tampa from Omar Suleiman, if you could ever get a chance to hear his seminar on the angel Gabriel, it's absolutely phenomenal. An authentic hadith states that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and for those of you here the first time, sallallahu alaihi wasallam is simply a term that we say after the name of all prophets, because prophets are not like common people. So if I say any of your names, I won't say anything after it, I'll just say your name. But when I talk about someone that received divine revelation from God, or that was a messenger of God, I say after their name, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the peace and blessings of God be with them. So when we say Isa, Jesus, we say alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam. Dawood alayhi salam. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the superiority of Aisha to other ladies is like the superiority of Tharid. Now, you have to understand the context of this ahadith when it came. At the time, the Sahaba were in transition and they ate very little meat. If you remember, in that day, in order to eat meat, you had to slaughter it in the name of Allah, let the blood drain from it, process that meat, and pretty much eat it then, because they didn't have refrigerators and things like that to take care of it. It was a big deal to eat meat. Okay? To other dishes. Many men reached the level of perfection. Now we know that all of the prophets were perfect people. They did do a few things occasionally that were not exactly, they were distasteful, so to speak, or didn't please Allah 100%, but they were perfect, because we know that to be imperfect means that you have to have an intention to have sinned. They never had the intention to sin, the prophets of Islam. So many men reached the level of perfection, but no women reached such a level except Mary, the daughter of Imran and Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh. And this comes from Surah Al-Baqarah. Indeed, both Mary and Pharaoh's wife Asiya are an example. The Virgin Mary plays a very significant role in Islam. She is an example and a sign to all people. She is a mu'ajiza, a miracle. Because, and I was talking to Brendan actually about this before the class today, about how, you know, we look at Mary, she did have at least a mother, a human mother. But look at the miracle of Adam alayhi salam, who did not have a mother or a father. But God just said, be. And there was the Prophet Adam alayhi salam. In Surah 19, Surah Miriam, verses 16 to 21, related the book the story of Mary, when she withdrew from her family to a place in the east. She placed a screen to screen herself from them. Then we sent her our angel, and he appeared before her as a man in all respects. She said, I seek refuge from you to God most gracious. This woman was a woman of modesty. This was a chaste woman. And she let that angel, when he appeared in the form of a man, know, let me tell you something, buddy. If you got any wrong ideas, you better go back where you came from. Or she didn't know what had come her way. And she feared God, so she put him in his place right away. Do not come near to me, she said, if you fear God. He said, no, I am only a messenger from your Lord to announce to you the gift of a holy son. And the great scholars say that he came in the form of a man, and then whenever she did that he transitioned into the form of an angel. Allahu A'lam. Allah knows best. But so many scholars say that the angel Gabriel transitioned from the form of a man to the form of an angel so that she could actually accept that she did not need to fear from this man. This is the power of God. This is the miracle of Miriam. May Allah bless her. Peace and blessings be upon her. No, I am only a messenger from your Lord to announce to you the gift of a holy son. She said, how shall I have a son, seeing that no man has touched me, and I am not unchaste? He said, so it will be. Your Lord says, that is easy for me, and we wish to appoint him as a sign unto men, and a mercy from us. It is a matter so decreed. Behold, the angel said, O Mary, God has chosen you and purified you. What did her mother pray for? A consecrated child. A child that would be separated for the purpose of God, and the service of God. O Mary, God has chosen you and purified you, chosen you above the women of all nations. O Mary, worship your Lord devoutly. Prostrate yourself and bow down in prayer with those who bow down. And remember, she who guarded her chastity, we breathed into her our spirit, and we made her and her son a sign for all people. So we know that Jesus was a Mu'ajiza. And we know that in the Islamic paradigm, we believe that Jesus will return, and that Jesus will lead us, and that Jesus will live a life on this earth, and then he will die and be buried next to our prophet. There is actually a place next to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we believe that Jesus will be buried when he comes back and lives on this earth. So the world would like you to believe that we don't believe in Jesus. And a lot of people, the first thing they say to me when they meet me is, why don't you guys believe in Jesus? And I sort of chuckle and say, you can't be a Muslim if you don't believe in Jesus. We love Jesus. And then I tell them how many times that Jesus is mentioned more in the Quran than Prophet Muhammad. I tell them how many times Miriam is mentioned in the Holy Quran. While describing people who were good examples for others, and Mary, the daughter of Imran, who guarded her chastity, and we breathed into her body our spirit. She testified to the truth of the words of her Lord and of his revelations, and was one of the devout servants. Christ, the son of Mary, was no more than a messenger. Many were the messengers that passed away before him. His mother was a woman of truth. They had both to eat their daily food. And the point of this verse is to point out that Jesus could not be God, because Jesus eats. God does not eat. Jesus took a bath. God doesn't need to take a bath. Jesus had to use the bathroom. God doesn't have to use the bathroom. God doesn't do number one and number two. That's a human trick. And that's how, to me, such a pinnacle point of the difference between God and Jesus. See how God makes his signs clear to them, yet see in what ways they are deluded away from the truth. Muslims believe that Jesus, Isa, alayhi salam, was the son of Mary and was conceived without the intervention of a human father. The Quran describes that an angel appeared to Mary to announce to her the gift of a holy son. She was astonished at the news and asked, "How shall I have a son, seeing that no man has touched me, and I am not unchaste?" When the angel explained to her that she had been chosen for the service of God, and that God had ordained the matter, she devoutly submitted herself to his will. In the Quran and other Islamic sources, there is no mention of Joseph, or Yusuf as we'd say in Islam, the carpenter, nor any recollection of the inn and the manger legend. In other words, those of us who come out of the Christian paradigm, we were taught that they were traveling and that they kept not finding a place to stay. There was no room in the inn. On the contrary, the Quran describes that Mary retreated from her people outside the city and gave birth to Jesus alayhi salam underneath a remote date palm tree. the tree miraculously provided nourishment for her during labor and birth. The Quran repeatedly reminds us that Adam alayhi salam, the first human being, was born with neither a human mother nor a human father. Therefore, Jesus' miracle, or his miraculous birth, affords him no higher standing or presumed partnership with God. When God ordains a matter, he merely says, "Be," and it is so. The similitude of Jesus before God is as that of Adam alayhi salam. He created him from dust and said to him, "Be," and he was. In Islam, Jesus is regarded as a human prophet and messenger of God, not part of God himself. We say that there is nothing like unto God, that there is no thing that can be equal to God. Brendan and I were talking about this before class as well. How can any human being ever be equated to the one that created the heavens and the earth? All of the atmospheres that actually created the human being. Jesus is a prophet and messenger. A messenger is a prophet who is given revelation from God. The Torah was revealed to Musa alayhi salam, Moses. The gospel was revealed to Isa, or Jesus alayhi salam. Messengers are a mercy, guidance, and sign from God. And God will teach him, Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, the book and wisdom, the Torah and the gospel, and appoint him as a messenger to the children of Israel with this message. I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, in that I make for you out of clay, as it were, the figure of a bird, and breathe into it, and it becomes a bird by God's leave. And I heal those born blind, and the lepers, and I bring the dead unto life by God's leave. And I declare to you what you eat, and what you store in your houses. So therein is a sign for you if you did believe. I have come to you to attest the Torah, which was before me, and to make lawful to you part of what was before forbidden to you. I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, so fear God and obey me. It is God who is my Lord and your Lord. Then worship him and worship him alone. And of course, this is the way that is straight. This is what Jesus said. We also know that if we go back to Exodus of the Old Testament, it said, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me, that I am a jealous God. Thou shalt not worship any graven images." The Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in 11 caves along the northwest shore of the Dead Sea between the years of 1947 and 1956. And these Dead Sea Scrolls confirm actually the story of Isa alayhi salam breathing into the bird. That story is not found in the Bible, but it was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Also, the Dead Sea Scrolls reiterated the stories of the Gospel of Barnabas and the Gospel of Hermes that was not included in the canonization of the Bible by the Roman Catholic Church around the early part of the 4th century, latter part of the 3rd century. Jesus was calling people to the worship of only God. Only by God's leave was Jesus able to perform miracles. When Jesus found unbelief on the disciples' part, he said, "Who will be my helpers to the work of God?" Said the disciples, "We are God's helpers. We believe in God. And do thou bear witness that we are Muslims." And when we look at that, if you think about it, I want to clarify that because out of context that could be a little misunderstood. We know that Sin Lam Mim is the root of Islam, which means what?
Peace.
Peace. When we add Mu in the front of this, you get what? Muslim, which is the doer of peace, the one who surrenders to God. And that is the context that we mean when we say that they said we're all Muslims. We are here as the servants of God. After conceiving, Mary went away with the baby to a distant place, and the pains of childbirth drove her to the trunk of a palm tree. She cried in her anguish, "Oh, would that I had died before this." Can you imagine what this woman was feeling, having never ever touched a man, having the birth pains, being driven away from her family out of shame? And she's saying, "Oh, I would just rather die than go through this." Yes, brother.
At that time, was it Islam, the place or the term? Was it already?
Well, Islam was not the term at that time, although, because at this time, remember, Muhammad ﷺ had not been born. So, but the word Muslim in the Arabic means one who is submitted to God, one who is surrendered to God. So this is why we say that Adam a.s. and all of the 125,000 prophets that have ever been on this earth were Muslim, because they surrendered to God's will. Yes, sister.
I heard somewhere that Mary was 12 years old when she was conceived.
Yes.
How old was she?
According to scholars, Mary was somewhere between 12 and 14 years of age when God breathed His Spirit into her. According to the scholars that I've studied, 12 and 14 years old. So if you can imagine, if you can take yourself to that place, that here this 12 to 14-year-old is saying, "Oh, would that I had died before this." Because, you know, 12 to 14 to be pregnant. I have a friend in town here, a Muslim, Egyptian Muslim lady, who has delivered 2 children of 11-year-olds in the last year.
Those days they were used to marrying young girls like that.
Yes, but I think in terms of the context, can you imagine emotionally